I decided that I would try and kill myself, and I took an overdose. And when my husband left me on the floor to die, my son called an ambulance, and people were pretty shocked by that. And presenting to the emergency department and saying to them, why are you here? Why did you take an overdose? And telling them, my husband raped me 4 times this week. I don't want to live anymore. I can't live like this. I can't handle it. And being randomly offered, would you like to go to a refuge? Knowing full well my children are left here in the house with them, and just going, no, I can't do that. I can't leave my kids behind. I will call your husband to come pick you up. And that was their response. And so, yeah, that was, I guess, the moment where people stepped back and just went, system responses are really not good enough. That's pretty shocking. For 10 years, I lived with my husband, who was also my carer. We met a long time ago through disability sports. Yeah, it was like any marriage and relationship. It started off so great and then turned so quickly. And I look back at my life and I look at the things that I've been through, and I can't believe that was me. I can't believe that was my story. The major aspect of my experience was sexual assault that went for the 10 years. When, you can talk about all the other aspects of abuse. I can sit there and I can talk about all the other things that he did, but as soon as you bring in rape, people, you can physically see them get uncomfortable with that topic. And that's the reality of it. I mean, we know the majority of rapes are by somebody that you know, and we just don't talk about it. Of all the things that happened and all the things that I experienced, that one has the biggest impact, lifelong. I don't think there's short of murder. I don't think there's much more that can really be done to you that's more violating than that. It started with sexual abuse. It started with sexual assault. It started with rape, and it progressed to all the other forms of the control. But it started with that, and then it became physical, and it became emotional, and it became financial. And for 10 years I lived with that. And slowly over that time, my mental health deteriorated. And I slipped further and further into isolation, and I was in and out of hospitals. I was on involuntary treatment orders. I decided, to cope with it all, I refused to eat and suffered with anorexia for a very, very long time. And it rendered me in hospital, and I didn't realise that hospital was actually my escape. For a lot of the time, I was safe there. When you're being belittled and you're being abused and you're being raped, on average every 4 weeks, you're no longer safe in your own home, and you go to bed every night wondering, is it going to happen tonight? Is tonight going to be the night? What's he going to do? And not realising that you're living with that day in, day out. And throughout all of this time, because you've got mental health issues, you think you're the cause of the problems in the marriage, you're the cause of his violence, or you're the you've provoked it, you've caused it. You've not only got to nurture yourself through your own trauma and your own impacts, but then also having to nurture your children through their trauma, their things that set off and trigger memories in them, and watching them crumble. I protected them as best as I could, and I protected them in the best way that I knew how to. And I've got to remind myself of that, and that I'm here for them now. That I did make it out of that I didn't die in that emergency department, and I am here to help them and support them and hold them and guide them through what they're feeling now. Wish I understood that back then. I wish I understood that it wasn't, that he was the cause of my mental health, not my mental health was the cause of what was happening to me. Everybody talks about women's agency and not taking away a woman's choice. If she, it's her choice to stay if she wants. Who are we to tell her what to do? Ultimately, the person who had my agency was him. He had my agency. All my decisions were because of him. I didn't make a decision for myself. I didn't make a choice for myself. So when they stepped in and they said, we're removing him from the house, I'm stupidly begging them not to, for fear of being alone, for fear of not being able to, because he's made me believe all these years that I need this person to live. You need this person. You rely on them. When they stepped in and they did all those things and they took him away, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, as much as I was so petrified at the time. And their words were, I know you're scared right now, but one day you will see it, one day you'll understand that this is the right thing. And they were right. And I'm grateful that they did that. That they didn't take the decision away from me. They took the decision away from him and helped me regain my ability, regain my agency, regain my ability to make choices for myself. And it took a couple of years to regain that sense of who I was. Well, the more we start representing the different diversities within the conversations, the more people are actually going to start recognizing themselves within the stories and connecting the two. If we can't face the confronting stories, then we're not going to make any change. And VSAC brings the reality. It brings the stories, it brings the reality, it brings these things that are confronting, because they are. That's all there is to it. To do this work, well, it is confronting. I mean, if it wasn't, we wouldn't have had a whole Royal Commission into it. If it wasn't confronting and horrific, it wouldn't be this huge problem that we have. And I think the ability of VSAC to bring that to the table and to make people listen is one of our huge strengths.